Good evening, and welcome back to Footnotes and Folly. Volume 7, Sonnets 108 to 126. These are the last of the fair youth poems, addressed, as throughout this whole first long sequence, to a young man, and they bring his story to its close. They hold the most famous sonnet of them all, number 116, on love that does not alter, the poet's rawest confessions about his own low trade and worse behaviour, and then, at sonnet 126, a strange, unfinished poem, only 12 lines, ending in 2 empty brackets that quietly shuts the door on the lovely boy for good. After this, a woman enters.
What is there in my brain that ink could write that has not already shown you my true spirit? What is there new to say, new to record, that can express my love or your dear worth? Nothing, sweet boy, and yet, like holy prayers, I must each day say over the very same things, counting no old thing old you mine, I yours exactly as when I first hallowed your fair name. So that eternal love, kept in love's fresh case, takes no account of the dust and injury of age, and gives no room to the inevitable wrinkles, but makes antiquity forever its servant, finding the very first idea of love still alive there, where time and outward looks would call it dead.
Like a daily prayer, he keeps repeating the same vow you mine, I yours, and calls the young man sweet boy for the first time. Love as liturgy, the same words, said over and over, that somehow never wear out.
Oh, never say that I was false of heart, even though absence seemed to dampen my flame. I could as easily depart from myself as from my soul, which lives inside your breast. That is the home of my love. If I have roamed, like one who travels, I come back again, exactly on time, not changed by the time, so that I myself bring the water to wash off my own stain. Never believe, though in my nature reigned all the weaknesses that besiege every kind of blood, that it could be so absurdly stained as to give up, for nothing, the whole sum of your goodness, for I call this whole wide universe nothing, except you, my rose. In it you are my everything.
Caught straying, he insists his heart never actually left, he only ranged like a traveller, and came home to wash off the stain himself. The defence is beautiful and not entirely convincing, which is rather the point.
Alas, it is true. I have gone here and there, and made myself a motley fool in public view, gashed my own dearest thoughts, sold cheap what is most precious, made fresh offences out of old affections. It is most true that I have looked on truth with suspicion, and as a stranger. But by all that is above, these wanderings gave my heart a second youth, and the worst experiments proved you to be my best love. Now all that is finished. Take what shall have no end. I will never again sharpen my appetite on some newer trial, to test an older friend to God in love, to whom I am wholly confined. So welcome me next after my heaven the best, to your pure and most loving breast.
A confession dressed up as a homecoming. Yes, I played the fool and chased others and made a public spectacle of myself, but it only proved you are my best love. The penitent comes home and asks to be taken back in.
Oh, for my sake, scold fortune for me, that guilty goddess behind my harmful deeds, who provided nothing better for my life than public means which breed public manners. From that comes the brand my name now bears, and almost from that my nature is subdued to what it works in, like the dyer's hand. Pity me then, and wish that I were renewed, and meanwhile, like a willing patient, I will drink down vinegar against my strong infection. No bitterness will I count bitter, nor refuse a double penance to set right my correction. Pity me then, dear friend, and I assure you that even your pity is enough to cure me.
His famous excuse for his lowly trade, almost certainly the theatre my nature is subdued to what it works in, like the dyer's hand, stained by what he does for a living. The most personal line in the sequence, and the nearest the poet ever comes to naming his own world.
Your love and pity fill up the mark that common scandal stamped upon my forehead. For what do I care who calls me good or bad, so long as you screen my faults and approve my good? You are my whole world, and I must try to learn my shames and praises from your tongue alone. No one else exists for me, nor I for anyone alive, who could change my hardened sense of right and wrong. I throw into so deep an abyss all concern for the voices of others that, like an adder, my senses are shut to both the critic's and the flatterer's tongue. See how I justify my neglect of all the world. You are so strongly fixed in my mind that, to me, everything else is dead.
Your opinion is now the only one that exists. He says I am deaf as an adder to everyone else. The line between devotion and a kind of willing isolation has all but disappeared.
Since I left you, my eye lives in my mind, and the eye that should direct my steps does its job only partly, and is partly blind, seems to see, but is effectively switched off. For it brings to my heart no shape of bird, of flower, or of anything it catches. The mind has no share in these quick-passing things, nor does its own vision hold on to what it sees. For whether I look on the crudest or the gentlest sight, the sweetest face or the most deformed creature, the mountain or the sea, the day or night, the crow or the dove, my eye reshapes them all to your features. Unable to take in more, and filled completely with you, my truest mind makes my eye untrue.
Apart from you, he can no longer see straight. Every sight, crow or dove, mountain or sea, rearranges itself into your face. Obsession rendered as an actual fault in the eyesight.
Or is it that my mind, being crowned with you, is drinking up this flattery, the plague of kings? Or should I say my eye sees truly, and that your love has taught it this alchemy to turn monsters and shapeless things into cherubs that resemble your sweet self, making every bad thing a perfect best, the instant objects gather to its beams? Oh, it is the first. It is the flattery in my seeing, and my great mind drinks it up most royally. My eye knows well what suits its taste, and prepares the cup to please its own palate. If the drink is poison, the sin is the less because my eye loves it and tastes it first.
The companion to 113, is his love-warped vision real alchemy, or just self-flattery he laps up like a king? He decides it is flattery and that he will gladly drink the poison anyway, since his eye loves the taste.
Those lines I wrote before now tell a lie, even the ones that said I could not love you more dearly. Yet back then my judgment saw no reason why my fullest flame should later burn even clearer. But reckoning with time, whose million little accidents creep in between vows and alter the decrees of kings, tan sacred beauty, blunt the sharpest intentions, and divert the strongest minds toward the drift of changing things, alas, why, in fear of time's tyranny, could I not then have said now I love you best, when I was certain only of my uncertainty, crowning the present moment and doubting all the rest? Love is a baby, so might I not say it then, to give full growth to what was still only growing?
He retracts his own earlier poems. When I said I could not love you more, I was wrong, because love keeps growing. Love is a babe, an infant then, larger now. He cannot even let his old vows stand without correcting them.
Let me not stand in the way of the marriage of true minds by admitting obstacles. Love is not love which alters the moment it finds the other person changed, or bends to leave the moment the other one leaves. Oh no, love is a fixed landmark that looks straight at the storms and is never shaken. It is the star that guides every lost ship, its true worth beyond knowing, even when we can measure its height. Love is not time's fool, though youth's rosy lips and cheeks fall within the sweep of time's blade. Love does not change with time's brief hours and weeks, but holds firm right to the edge of doomsday. If I am wrong about this, and it can be proven against me, then I never wrote a word and no man ever loved.
The most quoted definition of love in the language, read at every wedding by people who somehow never notice the alarming final wager where he stakes his entire identity as a poet on being right. Bold. And, after all the doubt of the poems just before it, almost defiant.
Accuse me like this, that I have neglected to repay all your great deserving, forgotten to call upon your dearest love, to which all bonds tie me day after day, that I have been familiar with strangers, and given away to time your own dearly bought right, that I have hoisted sail to every passing wind that would carry me farthest out of your sight. Set down in the record both my willfulness and my errors, and on solid proof, heap up your suspicion, bring me within the range of your frown, but do not shoot at me with your fully wakened hatred, since my own plea says, I did it all only to test the constancy and the virtue of your love.
He hands the young man a written charge sheet against himself, neglect, strangers, sailing away, and then claims he did it all only to test how faithful the beloved's love really is. An apology that is, underneath, a dare.
Just as to make our appetites keener, we sharpen the palate with biting seasonings, or to head off some unseen sickness we make ourselves ill with purges to avoid disease, so, full of your never-sickening sweetness, I turned my feeding to bitter sauces, and, sick of being well, found a kind of sense in being diseased before there was any real need. So the policy and love of guarding against ills that did not yet exist, grew into actual faults and brought a healthy state to the doctor, a state which, overfull of goodness, would be cured by sickness. But from this I learn, and the lesson is true, the drugs poison the one who fell so sick of you.
A queasy little argument, like a man who takes purges to stave off illness. He sought out other lovers as a tonic against too much happiness, and only made himself genuinely ill. Self-sabotage, diagnosed in a doctor's vocabulary.
What potions of siren tears have I drunk, distilled from inner vessels foul as hell, applying fears to hopes and hopes to fears, still losing just when I saw myself winning. What wretched blunders my heart has committed, in the very moments it thought itself most blessed. How my eyes have been knocked from their sockets in the fits of this maddening, distracting fever. O benefit of harm! Now I find it true that what is better is made better still by evil, and ruined love, when it is built up anew, grows fairer than at first, stronger, far greater. So I return, rebuked, to my contentment, and gain by the harm 3 times more than I spent.
He has drunk siren tears, chased false loves, and been wretched, but, he insists, the ruined love rebuilt is now greater than ever. The familiar move, turning the betrayal into a story where the love comes out stronger for it.
That you were once unkind now works in my favor, and for that grief which I felt back then I must, under my own offense, bow down, unless my nerves were made of brass or beaten metal. For if you were shaken by my unkindness, as I once was by yours, you have lived through a hell of a time, and I, a tyrant, have taken no leisure to weigh how badly I once suffered from your crime. Oh, that our night of woe had reminded my deepest feeling how hard true sorrow strikes, and that I had soon offered you, as you once offered me, the humble salve that wounded hearts require. But now that past trespass of yours becomes a payment, mine ransoms yours, and yours must ransom me.
Now the tables have turned, and he has wronged the young man, and he is almost grateful because it finally lets him feel the pain he once caused. Each of their betrayals, he decides, simply cancels out the other.
It is better to be vile than merely to be thought vile, when, not being vile, you are reproached as if you were, and the rightful pleasure is lost which is judged so not by your own feeling, but by other people seeing. For why should others' false, corrupt eyes pass judgment on the lively blood in me? Or why should spies on my weaknesses keep spying, who in their own desires call bad what I think good? No, I am what I am, and those who aim their blows at my faults are really tallying up their own. I may be straight, though they themselves are crooked. Their filthy thoughts must not be used to measure my deeds unless they hold to this one general evil, that all men are bad and reign supreme in their badness.
His angriest poem a defiant I am what I am flung at the gossips and spies who judge him by their own dirty minds. If the world will call you vile regardless, he snaps, you might as well have had the pleasure. Pure, bristling defiance.
Your gift, your notebook, is recorded inside my brain, written over with lasting memory which shall outlast that idle paper beyond all dates, even to eternity, or at least for as long as brain and heart have the natural power to last, until each yields its part of you to total oblivion. Your record can never be lost. That poor keepsake could not hold so much, nor do I need a tally stick to score your dear love, and so I was bold to give it away, trusting instead those tablets of mine that hold you more fully than it ever could. To keep a thing as a way of remembering you would be to admit there was forgetfulness in me.
Awkward news. The young man gave him a notebook, and he gave it away explaining that he keeps the beloved in his brain, not on paper. A genuinely clumsy excuse for losing a present, wrapped in the loftiest possible terms.
No time, you shall not boast that I change. Your pyramids built with newer might are nothing novel to me, nothing strange. They are only old sights dressed up again. Our lifespans are short, and so we marvel at the old things you palm off on us, and would rather imagine them born to fit our wishes than admit we had heard of them before. I defy both you and your records, not wondering at your present or your past. For your records and the things we see both lie, made larger or smaller by your constant haste. This one thing I vow, and it shall always hold, I will stay true despite your scythe and you.
A vow of constancy flung straight in time's face. Your monuments are nothing new, your records lie, and I will stay true regardless. Defiance again, the poet bracing himself against the one enemy he can neither flatter nor forgive.
If my dear love were only the child of circumstance, it might, as fortune's bastard, have no father, left to the mercy of time's love or time's hatred, a weed among weeds, or a flower gathered with flowers. No, it was built far away from all mere accident. It does not suffer amid smiling pomp, nor collapse under the blow of slavish discontent, to which our fashionable times keep inviting us. It fears no policy, that short-sighted heretic which works only on leases of hours and weeks, but stands all alone, hugely self-possessed, so that it neither grows with heat nor drowns in showers. As witnesses to this I call the fools of time, who die for goodness, having lived for crime.
He insists his love is no creature of fashion or circumstance, not a child of state that rises and falls with the times, but something that stands hugely politic on its own. A poem armoring love against a treacherous, time-serving age.
Would it have meant anything to me to have carried the canopy of state, honoring mere outward show with my own outward show? Or to have laid great foundations meant for eternity, which prove shorter lived than waste or ruin? Have I not seen those who dwell on form and favor lose everything and more by paying too much rent, giving up plain, honest flavor for fancy tastes? Pitiful strivers, ruined by their own gazing? No, let me be devoted in your heart, and take my humble but freely given offering, which is not mixed with cheap additions or cunning, but is a mutual exchange, only me for you. So away with you, you bribed informer. A true soul, when most accused, is least in your power.
He rejects all empty ceremony, canopies, grand monuments, courtly display for one plain, mutual offering, only me for you. And he ends by snarling at an informer, some spy or slanderer, who has no hold over our heart that is true.
O you, my lovely boy, who hold in your power time's fickle glass, his sickle and his hour, you who have grown even as you waned, and in that growing show your lover's withering as your own sweet self grows on. If nature, the sovereign mistress over all decay, holds you back even as you still move onward, she keeps you only for this purpose, that her skill may disgrace time and kill those wretched minutes. Yet still fear her, O you darling of her pleasure. She may hold back her treasure, but she cannot keep it. Her account, however long delayed, must still be answered, and the settling of it is to give you up. And then 2 empty brackets where the final couplet should be and is not.
The last fair youth poem, and not a sonnet at all, 12 lines, 6 couplets, then 2 empty brackets where the closing pair should stand, like a blank waiting gravestone. Nature has only lent you to the world, he warns the lovely boy, and time's audit will fall due. On that unfinished line, the young man's whole story ends. 19 sonnets, and the fair youth's long story closes. They move through homecoming and confession, the poet admitting he played the public fool 110, and naming, more nakedly than anywhere else, the brand on his name from his lowly trade, his nature subdued to what it works in, like the die's hand 111. They include his most defiant poem, I'm What I'm 121, flung at the spies and gossips, and the single most famous sonnet of all, 116, on the love that is not time's fool. And then, at 126, the sequence does something eerie, a poem of only 12 lines, trailing off into empty brackets, that simply stops, and with it, the young man vanishes from the poems. What comes next is a different person, and a darker key entirely, the Dark Lady. What to read next, Volume 8, where she arrives, and the pronouns change to she. Until then, mind the footnotes. In short, Sonnet 111, the poet's rawest confession, his name branded by his low trade, like the dyer's hand. Sonnet 116, the most famous of all love that is not time's fool. Sonnet 121, pure defiance I am that I am flung at the gossips. Sonnet 126, the fair youth's farewell, an unfinished 12-line poem ending in empty brackets. The first long sequence ends, next the dark lady enters, and the beloved is a woman.